The Vraxian collective arrives in Earth's orbit on what humans would later refer to as a perfectly ordinary Tuesday. Their massive obsidian ships, shaped like geometric nightmares, materialize simultaneously across the planet, casting eerie shadows over major cities. In New York, children point skyward at the phenomenon, while adults check their phones to see if it's a scheduled astronomical event. Dr. Elena Reyes, a xenolinguist whose controversial theory about non-human communication patterns had made her a pariah in academic circles, is yanked from her university lecture mid-sentence by stone-faced government agents. Within hours, she finds herself in a converted missile silo, surrounded by military officials and panicked politicians, tasked with deciphering alien transmissions that defy conventional analysis. Dr. Reyes, we need answers now, General Martinez says, sliding a tablet across the table. On it, symbols pulse and shift in patterns that make her eyes water. What are they saying? Elena studies the transmissions, her mind racing. The patterns aren't random. They're structured, but not like any language she's encountered. They're testing us, she murmurs, sending increasingly complex signals to gauge our comprehension. The room falls silent as she works, the only sound the soft beeping of military equipment and the occasional whispered conference. After 3 hours, Elena sits back, rubbing bloodshot eyes. Send this response, she says, sketching a series of symbols on her notepad. It acknowledges their presence and indicates we're capable of structured communication. The transmission goes out. 30 minutes later, the aliens respond. In perfect, unsettlingly, emotion-free English. People of Earth, we are the Vraxian collective. We bring the culling, a necessary evaluation of species potential. Your resistance is anticipated but futile. 97% of tested civilizations fail and are harvested accordingly. The broadcast continues with a clinical description of the coming disasters: earthquakes, tsunamis, atmospheric disturbances, all precisely targeted to test humanity's response capacity. The president's hand shakes as he sets down his coffee cup. They're going to attack us regardless of what we do. Not attack. Elena corrects, something clicking in her mind. Test. This isn't conquest. It's evaluation. Same difference, mutters the Secretary of Defense. We need to launch everything we've got. No, Elena says sharply. Look at their phrasing. Your resistance is anticipated. They expect us to fight back directly. That's what those other species did, and failed. The room erupts in argument until the president raises his hand. What do you suggest, Doctor? Ask for time, she says. 24 hours to inform our population. Let's see how they respond to the unexpected. The diplomatic team crafts a careful response, requesting time to prepare Earth's population, not for war, but for the coming disasters. The aliens pause for precisely 90 seconds before responding. Request granted. 24 Earth hours. Use them wisely. As the delegation disperses to implement global warnings, General Martinez falls into step beside Elena. You think we can survive what's coming? Elena watches the surveillance feed showing the impassive Vraxian ships. They've never met humans before, have they? Meaning they've calculated everything except what makes us different. She gathers her notes. We need to warn everyone, but not in the way they expect. As she heads for the communication center, Elena's mind is already racing through possibilities. The aliens called this a culling, but humanity had been testing itself with disasters, wars, and calamities since the dawn of civilization. For us, she thinks grimly, this is just Tuesday. As news of the impending culling spreads across global networks, the expected panic begins, but doesn't unfold as the Vraxians anticipated. In the first 3 hours, global stock markets crash, religious gatherings swell, and there's a rush on supplies. Then something shifts. In Omaha, Nebraska, farmer John Whittaker watches the presidential address on his ancient television, takes a long sip of his beer, then walks to his barn without a word. He begins rearranging equipment, creating space where there wasn't any before. 15 minutes later, his neighbor's truck pulls into the driveway, toolbox in the back. "Figured you'd be setting up," says Mike Donovan, climbing out of his vehicle. Margaret's organizing the food stores. Peterson's bringing his generator. John nods, unsurprised. Tornado shelters getting crowded these days. By sundown, they've reinforced the storm cellar beneath John's barn with additional supports, installed water filtration systems jury-rigged from farm equipment, and cataloged enough stored food for 37 people. When a Vraxian scout ship passes silently overhead, its sensors detect not chaos, but methodical preparation. In Tokyo, subway conductor Keiko Tanaka calmly announces over the intercom, "Due to unexpected extraterrestrial activity, slight delays are anticipated on the Yamanote line. Emergency protocols are now in effect. Please proceed to your destinations in an orderly manner." Commuters look up from their phones, absorb the information, and continue their journeys. Station managers quietly unlock emergency supply cabinets. Maintenance workers convert utility spaces into shelter areas. Not a single commuter is left stranded. In Rio de Janeiro, in a neighborhood tourists are warned never to enter, 5 men sit around a table in tense silence. Each controls territory measured in city blocks, fought over for generations with blood and bullets. "My grandfather survived the mudslides of '35, says one, lighting a cigarette. "Said the government never came. Only the neighbors." Another man nods. "The North District has the best access to the water treatment plant. I have 50 men who can secure it. My territory has 3 medical clinics, offers a third. I'll provide protection for the doctors. We can kill each other after we deal with these alien pendejos," says the oldest, to grim nods of agreement. By nightfall, Rio's most dangerous men have divided the city into zones of civilian protection. In the Vraxian command ship, Sub-Executor Vex studies the monitoring screens with growing confusion. "High Executor, I must report an anomaly." High Executor Zorn turns his attention away from the weapons preparations, explaining, "The humans, they are behaving incorrectly." Vex gestures to the data streams. "We observe no mass hysteria, no governmental collapse. Instead, they organize rather than fracture." "Impossible," Zorn dismisses. "Primitive species cannot maintain social cohesion under existential threat. Evidence suggests otherwise." Vex highlights footage from 6 continents showing similar patterns of ordered preparation. Their response appears practiced. Zorn studies the images with mounting irritation. This wasn't following the established patterns of hundreds of previous cullings. "Begin the earthquakes," he commands. No primitive species withstands planetary trauma. A technician initiates the seismic assault sequence. On Earth, millions of phones simultaneously vibrate with emergency alerts. Humans look up from their preparations, check the notification, and simply work faster. In the converted missile silo, Dr. Elena Reyes watches the global response data flow across her screens. "They expect us to fall apart," she tells General Martinez. They've never seen a species that has spent its entire existence preparing for disaster. Martinez nods grimly as the first tremors begin to shake the facility. Then let's show them what humanity does on a difficult Tuesday. The ground begins to tremble in San Francisco as Captain Malik Rodriguez secures his helmet. His firefighting unit has been drilling for major earthquakes for years. When the 8.7 magnitude quake hits, collapsing the financial district into dust and rubble, his team is already moving. "Form up," Rodriguez shouts as buildings crumble around them. Standard search pattern, just like we practiced. His rookie, Torres, stumbles as another aftershock hits. "Cap, this isn't natural. The pattern's all wrong." "Rubble doesn't care what caused it, rookie. Move." Rodriguez leads his team toward a collapsed apartment building where sensors indicate survivors. They work with practiced efficiency, establishing support structures, creating access paths, setting up triage stations. Within 20 minutes, they extract their first survivors, a mother and her young son, dusty but largely unharmed thanks to their earthquake preparedness drill just 3 weeks earlier. In Istanbul, a centuries-old mosque collapses. Before the dust settles, an impromptu civilian rescue team forms a human chain, passing injured survivors hand-to-hand to safety. An elderly imam works alongside a teenage girl with pink hair, neither speaking as they lift a fallen stone column. "My grandmother survived the 2023 quake," the girl explains, straining against the weight. "She made sure we all knew what to do." The imam nods. Allah provides not just trials, but the strength to endure them. Across the globe, similar scenes play out with variations only in setting and scale. In Mexico City, earthquake-resistant buildings sway but remain standing, their designs refined through generations of seismic events. In Tokyo, automated systems shut down potential fire sources seconds before the tremors hit. The Vraxians watch in confusion as disaster response networks activate globally with unprecedented efficiency. Sub-Executor Vex reviews the data streams with growing concern. Casualty rates 63% below projection, he reports to High Executor Zorn. Their emergency protocols appear practiced. Zorn hisses in frustration. Impossible. Check your instruments. Instruments confirmed functional. Vex highlights footage of humans executing complex rescue operations with minimal communication. Evidence suggests they have faced such disasters before. Nothing like this. Their historical records indicate regular seismic events across multiple regions. They have developed responses accordingly. In Washington, D.C., partially collapsed and burning, the remains of the Emergency Management Agency coordinates a global response. A bloody technician looks up from her terminal. Admiral Chen reports that tsunami warning system is fully operational. Pacific coastal evacuations underway. Zorn, observing this exchange through surveillance technology, orders the wave generation sequence initiated immediately rather than waiting for earthquake recovery. "Let us see how they handle compound disasters," he says, his confidence slightly less absolute than before. On the U.S. Lincoln, repositioned in the Pacific, Admiral Helena Chen receives the tsunami alerts. Without hesitation, she implements Protocol Poseidon, a contingency developed after the Indonesian tsunami of 2004. All vessels, this is Admiral Chen, convert to rescue platforms immediately. Helicopter squadrons deploy to evacuation zones. We have approximately 30 minutes until impact. The massive carrier battle group transforms with practiced precision into a humanitarian armada. As the alien-generated waves begin forming, an unprecedented civilian evacuation operation is already underway. In the Rocky Mountain bunker, Dr. Elena Rice studies the Vraxian communication patterns with growing excitement. They're confused, she tells General Martinez. They expected chaos, not coordination. Will they escalate? Reyes nods grimly. The tsunamis are just the beginning, but they're revealing something critical with each attack. What's that? Their playbook, and more importantly, their assumptions about us. She turns back to her analysis. We need to use that. As massive tsunamis begin forming across Earth's oceans, Dr. Elena Rice works feverishly in a bunker beneath the Rocky Mountains. Surrounded by linguists, cryptographers, and military intelligence specialists, she maps patterns in Vraxian communications intercepted over the past 18 hours. There, she exclaims, pointing to a recurring sequence on her screen. They don't just speak our language. They've been monitoring our broadcasts for decades. But look at the semantic structure. They fundamentally misunderstand how humans process threat and cooperation. She highlights a translation matrix showing Praxian concepts and their human equivalents. The discrepancies are subtle but critical. Across the room, former CIA operative Ahmed Nasser nods slowly. They expect us to behave like them. Hierarchical, rigid, individual survival above all. He turns to the Joint Chiefs representative. We can use this. How? Asks the general. Feed them what they expect to see. Nasser replies, a plan already forming. They believe we're fracturing. Let's show them exactly that, while doing something completely different. Within hours, a shadow operation begins. Carefully crafted misinformation flows through channels the team knows the Vraxians are monitoring. False casualty reports. Manufactured evidence of societal breakdown. Staged footage of government collapse and military units turning on each other. Make it just believable enough. Nasser instructs his team. They don't understand us well enough to spot the inconsistencies. Meanwhile, in a flooded laboratory in Singapore, quantum physicist Dr. Wei Zhang salvages equipment as water rises around her ankles. Her international team works frantically to keep servers above the waterline. The pulse frequency in the propulsion system, it's creating a detectable quantum signature. She tells her colleagues via satellite link. Every time they move their ships or generate these disasters, they're leaving a trace. A younger scientist looks up from his calculations. We could potentially disrupt their systems. Zhang shakes her head. Better, we could predict their next move. She points to a pattern emerging in the data. See this harmonic? It appeared just before the earthquake sequence initiated, and here again before the tsunamis. There's a preparation phase we can detect. As her team works to refine the detection algorithm, the Vraxians prepare their atmospheric assault. Their sensors show them exactly what they expect to see, a species on the brink of collapse, fighting amongst themselves for remaining resources. High Executor Zorn reviews the intelligence feeds with satisfaction. The secondary disasters have accelerated their societal breakdown, he observes. As expected, Sub-Executor Vex seems less certain. There are anomalies in the data streams. Some communication networks remain operational despite our efforts to disable them. Primitive redundancies, Zorn dismisses. Prepare the atmospheric sequence. Their resistance ends today. What the Vraxian sensors don't show. Beneath the apparent chaos, humanity is quietly preparing for what's coming next. In hardened bunkers and emergency operations centers worldwide, Zhang's breakthrough spreads through secure channels. We have approximately 6 hours before the atmospheric assault begins, General Martinez informs the Global Coordination Team. Dr. Zhang's detection system is giving us advance warning. In the communications center, Dr. Rice studies the latest Vraxian transmissions. They think they're winning, she says quietly. They have no idea we can see them coming. Martinez examines the global preparation map, showing thousands of points where humanity is quietly organizing while projecting the appearance of collapse. For an advanced species, they're making a very basic mistake. What's that? Asks a junior officer. Martinez and Reyes exchange knowing glances before she answers. Never underestimate an opponent you don't understand. The superstorms descend upon Earth with apocalyptic fury. Wind speeds reach 200 miles per hour across 5 continents simultaneously. Electrical systems fail. Communications become sporadic. Millions are displaced as cities flood and infrastructure buckles. These aren't natural formations. The storm systems defy meteorological logic, maintaining impossible intensities over terrain that should disrupt them. Purple lightning splits skies, never meant to produce such energy. In the Australian outback, Aboriginal elder Marley Cooper looks at the unnatural storm front approaching her community. The black-purple clouds pulse with alien energies, but her expression remains calm. Not so different from the cyclones of 32, she tells the gathered families. Remember your dreamings. Remember what the land taught us. The community moves with practiced precision, relocating to cave systems mapped by their ancestors centuries ago. Children carry medicinal plants. Adults transport water purification equipment designed after the Great Drought. As the alien tempest howls overhead, 3 generations shelter together, implementing survival techniques refined over 60,000 years of harsh conditions. In Bangladesh, Dr. Farida Hassan watches as her floating hospital, designed after the climate disasters of the 2030s, navigates the surging waters of what was once Dhaka. The modified oil platform, equipped with wind stabilizers and emergency propulsion. Rocks violently, but remains operational. Keep the generators above the waterline. She shouts over the howling wind. We've survived worse floods than this. Her medical team works without pause, treating injured civilians brought in by volunteer rescue boats. When the hospital's communication array fails, they switch seamlessly to analog methods, color-coded flags and light signals, systems developed during the connectivity blackouts of the mid-21st century. Inside the Vraxian command ship, confusion spreads. Monitoring stations display contradictory data, massive infrastructure failure alongside inexplicable pockets of resilience. Resilience factors exceeding all known parameters, a subordinate reports to High Executor Zorn. They appear to be adapted to environmental catastrophe. Impossible. Zorn slams his appendage against the control panel. No species evolves to withstand planetary devastation. Sub-Executor Vex studies the readings carefully. Not evolution, Executor. Experience. He brings up historical Earth data. Their climate has undergone numerous radical shifts. Further, historical data suggests they have been testing themselves with self-induced disasters for centuries. Self-induced. Zorn's voice contains something unprecedented. Uncertainty. Industrial pollution. Nuclear weapons testing. Climate manipulation experiments. Vex displays footage of hurricane response teams from the 2040s. They have been preparing for this scenario without knowing it. For the first time in the long history of Cullings, doubt enters the Vraxian command center. Zorn orders increased monitoring and preparation of the energy weapon systems, their final resort. Meanwhile, in a storm-lashed research center in northern Europe, Dr. Zhang's team achieves breakthrough despite part of the roof tearing away. The pulse signature. She shouts over the roaring wind. We've mapped it. 17 minutes. That's how long we can disrupt their sensors if we transmit on these exact frequencies. Her lead engineer looks up from emergency repairs. 17 minutes isn't long. It's long enough if everyone moves simultaneously, Zhang replies. Through fractured communication networks, ham radios, optical data bursts, even modified seismic transmissions, the information spreads to military commands worldwide. Using channels the Vraxians don't understand or monitor, humanity coordinates its response. Operation Blindfold is authorized. The countdown begins. In the Rocky Mountain bunker, Dr. Rice receives Zhang's breakthrough with grim satisfaction. Tell everyone to be ready, she tells General Martinez. When these storms begin to clear, we'll have our one chance. And if it doesn't work? Rise watches the satellite imagery of the alien-generated storms ravaging Earth. Then we try something else. That's what humans do. As the superstorms begin to subside, leaving devastation in their wake, humanity launches its counteroffensive. At precisely coordinated moments, radio telescopes and military installations worldwide transmit Dr. Zhang's calculated pulse sequence. From Arecibo's rebuilt array to Australia's Parkes Observatory, from repurposed cell towers in Kenya to military communication centers in Ukraine, the signal goes out, targeted directly at the Vraxian fleet. Aboard the Vraxian command ship, alarms blare. Screens flicker, then go dark. Status indicators flash critical warnings in the Vraxian language. Sensor arrays failing. A technician reports, panic evident even in the usually emotionless Vraxian speech patterns. Unknown interference pattern detected. Impossible, Zorn whispers, but the screens before him show only static. Primitive species cannot generate quantum interference. Countermeasures ineffective, another technician reports. Estimated recovery time, 17 Earth minutes. 17 minutes. The Vraxians are blind. In those precious moments, stealth aircraft deliver specialized teams to locations where smaller Vraxian scout ships have landed to collect data. Leading one such team, Special Forces Captain Lena Vasquez moves through the shadows toward an alien vessel in the Amazon rainforest. Her team members represent 6 nations, brought together by humanity's shared crisis. They move with practiced stealth through mud and vegetation, their clothing bending light in patterns that confuse even advanced sensors. Remember, she whispers to her strike team, we need the technology intact and at least one of them alive. Conventional weapons as last resort only. They surround the streamlined craft, which pulsates with subdued blue energy. The three-member Vraxian crew, cut off from their command ship, continues to collect samples from the forest floor, oblivious to the humans encircling their position. What follows is not a battle but a precision operation. Using tactics developed against human adversaries with superior firepower, Vasquez's team infiltrates the vessel. They deploy targeted EMP devices that the Vraxians, in their arrogance, never thought to shield against. 3 minutes later, all 3 aliens are secured. The captured Vraxian officer, Second Scout Krell, experiences an emotion no member of his species has felt during a culling, genuine shock. The humans securing him aren't behaving as conquered species should. There's no panic in their movements, no desperate aggression. They're methodical, efficient, and worst of all, they're adapting Vraxian technology even as they collect it. You cannot comprehend our superiority, Krell insists as Vasquez interrogates him in the makeshift containment area. The culling has never failed. Vasquez simply smiles, an expression Krell cannot interpret. We've been culling ourselves for millennia, she replies. You're just not very good at it. Her team works swiftly, downloading data cores and collecting technology samples. Their remaining time counts down relentlessly. Across the globe, similar operations unfold. In Siberia, Chinese-Russian teams secure another scout ship. In the Sahara, a joint African Union force captures Vraxian survey equipment. In Antarctica, multinational scientists retrieve atmospheric manipulation technology. As the 17 minutes end and Vraxian sensors reactivate, the damage is done. Humanity has captured critical technology samples, and more importantly, 3 living Vraxians. High Executor Zorn, faced with a situation unprecedented in culling history, receives the damage reports with growing horror. How many craft lost? 7 scout ships, 16 sensor platforms, Sub-Executor Vex replies, and 3 personnel captured. Captured. The word seems to physically pain Zorn. Impossible. Vex's voice is steady, but carries undertones of the unthinkable fear. We must consider activating the final contingency. Zorn stares at the restored images of Earth, a planet that refuses to submit. Prepare the energy weapons. We end this now. The Vraxian fleet moves into position for their final attack. Energy weapons, capable of reducing cities to ash, power up simultaneously above Earth's 20 largest population centers. The ship's formations create a geometric pattern that somehow offends the human eye. Too perfect, too alien. On the ground, despite exhaustion and massive casualties, humanity prepares for what could be its last stand. Evacuation protocols accelerate. Underground shelters reach capacity. Military units deploy what little anti-orbital capability remains, knowing it's likely futile. In the secure facility where Krell is held, Dr. Elena Reyes makes a discovery that changes everything. Analyzing the Vraxian speech patterns and the data retrieved from their ship, she notices discrepancies in how they describe the culling's purpose. This isn't adding up, she mutters, comparing translations. Why test species only to harvest them? There's something else. She cross-references with historical records from the captured ships, and a pattern emerges. The Vraxians aren't conquering for resources or territory. They're searching. Get me direct communication with their command ship, she demands. Now. Technical teams work frantically, adapting captured Vraxian communication technology. Within minutes, they establish a channel to the alien flagship. Through a hastily established link, Rise addresses High Executor Zorn directly. The alien commander expects pleas for mercy or final defiance. Instead, Reyes speaks with the calm confidence of someone holding a winning hand. The culling isn't about harvesting failed species, she states. It's about finding allies strong enough to help you fight something worse, something that hunts you. Zorn's silence confirms her theory. Your historical records show a pattern, she continues. Every few centuries, you expand your search parameters. You're getting desperate. Whatever's chasing you is getting closer. The Vraxian fleet's weapon systems remain active, but do not fire. What you fail to understand, she continues, is that humanity faces existential threats every Tuesday. We've survived ice ages, plagues, world wars, and our own self-destructive tendencies. Your culling is just another Tuesday for us. She transmits the data collected from Krell and the captured ships, information revealing vulnerabilities in Vraxian defenses that they believed impossible for humans to discover. We found this in hours, not years, Rise says. Your tests aren't nearly as difficult as what we've put ourselves through. Imagine what we could do as allies instead of victims. On the command ship, Zorn studies the transmitted data with growing disbelief. How did they extract this information so quickly? Sub-Executor Vex reviews the analysis. Their pattern recognition capabilities exceed our models, and their social cooperation under stress is unprecedented. Zorn finishes. They protect their weakest members yet still function efficiently. Through the communication link, Rise presses her advantage. 3 species have passed your test, including us. But I'm guessing we're the only ones who captured your scouts and deciphered your technology while being bombarded by your weapons. You understand nothing of what pursues us, Zorn counters, but his tone has changed. Then tell us, Rise replies simply. Because whatever's hunting you will find Earth eventually anyway. And we'd rather be prepared. For the first time in their history of cullings, the Vraxians hesitate. The energy weapons remain powered but unfired. High Executor Zorn, following protocols never before needed, calls for a complete reassessment of the human species. Stand down weapons, he finally orders. Maintain orbital position. Below, on a devastated but unbowed planet, humanity watches as the threat of annihilation recedes, not through surrender, but through understanding. 3 days after what would become known as the Tuesday War, the Vraxian fleet withdraws to a higher orbit. High Executor Zorn, in an unprecedented break with tradition, requests a formal meeting with Earth's representatives on neutral ground, the International Space Station. Engineers work around the clock to adapt the station's largest module for the alien delegation. Dr. Reyes barely sleeps, refining translation protocols and briefing the multinational diplomatic team. Remember, she tells them hours before the historic meeting. They respect strength but don't understand cooperation the way we do. Show both. In a historic broadcast viewed by billions, Zorn faces a delegation representing Earth's nations, religions, and cultures. The contrast is striking. The uniform, identical Vraxians against the diverse human group. 6 Vraxians, all identical in their chromium scale appearance, face 12 humans of different ages, genders, and ethnicities. We have conducted 712 cullings across the galaxy, Zorn states formally. You are the 3rd species to survive, but the first to do so while protecting your most vulnerable. This requires study. Dr. Reyes, now serving as humanity's chief negotiator, leans forward. And the threat you're running from? The real reason for these cullings? Zorn's hesitation speaks volumes. A subtle shift in the color of his scales, a sign of emotional disturbance that humans are just beginning to recognize. It comes from beyond the galactic rim. We detected their scout vessels 6 centuries ago. Their technology exceeds even ours. They harvest all life, not just intelligent species. And how long do we have? Perhaps a century, perhaps less. Reyes exchanges glances with her fellow delegates. Then we have work to do. The Vraxians propose a new relationship, not as conquerors, but as wary equals. Humanity accepts, but with conditions ensuring Earth's sovereignty and immediate technological exchange to repair the damage caused by the culling. We will need access to your faster-than-light travel technology, states the Indian representative. "And your medical technology to heal our wounded," adds the Kenyan delegate. Zorn agrees with noticeable reluctance. "In exchange, we will study your adaptability." As the diplomatic teams work out details, life on Earth begins returning to normal with remarkable speed. In Nebraska, farmer John Whittaker returns to his fields, now helping test alien-enhanced drought resistance technology. In Tokyo, the subways run on schedule, their infrastructure strengthened with Fraxian materials. Captain Rodriguez and his firefighting team train new recruits using techniques that incorporate lessons from the Tuesday War. "Disaster doesn't care where it comes from," he tells them. "Our job stays the same." Dr. Rice establishes a permanent communication protocol with the Fraxians, while Dr. Zhang leads an international team adapting alien technology for Earth's defense. Captain Vasquez begins training the first joint human-Fraxian military unit, preparing for a threat still decades away. 6 months after first contact, a memorial service honors the millions lost during the culling. As the names scroll on screens worldwide, High Executor Zorn, now Ambassador Zorn, observes the ceremony with growing comprehension. "You honor your dead collectively," he notes to Dr. Reyes. "Even strangers. That's how we survived you," she replies. "And how we'll survive what's coming." Earth has survived its first interstellar crisis, not through superior technology or military might, but through the qualities that define humanity: adaptability, resilience, and the stubborn refusal to accept defeat. As one commentator puts it in the final global broadcast, "The aliens called it a culling. We called it Tuesday, and now they know why we'll still be here next Tuesday, and the Tuesday after that. And when their enemies arrive from beyond the rim, we'll call that Tuesday too."